2021's been, how do I put this lightly, an underwhelming year for gaming? Don't get me wrong, some of the titles released this year have been fantastic, but overall it hasn't been too active. You can't really complain when you've been hit this hard by a worldwide pandemic. 2022 though brings a lot of promise with reboots, sequels to old franchises and fresh IPs from veteran as well as new developers. Here's my list of the most anticipated games of 2022.
Look up at the sky. It burns.
Hopes of seeing Elden Ring have been around for years now, and even after hearing the most recent news of its delay, we're still riled up to see what the fuss is all about. Elden Ring was proposed to release sometime in January 22, but according to reports, the game's now been delayed due to development technicalities. Although it's delayed just by a month, players have been eagerly awaiting for years to see this title finally surface. After watching the gameplay trailer, we kind of know that Elden Ring takes massive inspiration from the Dark Souls trilogy. The game is of course written by George R.R. Martin, which gives it a different realm of charm, but the overall look seems hauntingly similar to the Dark Souls franchise. So it should go without saying that Elden Ring is easily one of the most anticipated games of the year for its sheer hype from GOT and Dark Souls fans alike. This open world Souls-like is courted to be out sometime at the end of February 2022. Now, if you thought Gotham Knights was just about Batman, then you're partly correct, but you're missing out on a lot of details. Gotham Knights is about the Bat's supporting cast, including Red Hood, Batgirl, Nightwing, and of course Robin. From the concept alone, it seems like it could be something really special. The idea of roaming the streets of Gotham with a friend is quite exciting, with a range of these super cool heroes giving it even more weight. For those of you who think Batman's dead, here's a spoiler for you. He totally isn't. WB Games Montreal is working on this brand new Batman game, and the studio is calling it the most dynamic and interactive Gotham City yet, with RPG elements that include unique abilities and skill trees available for each of the 4 knights. The game will have a co-op affair with an open world action-adventure gameplay style similar to several games before. Nothing new there, but what we can expect to see is plenty of DC villains trying to take control of Gotham in Batman's absence, which means there's a lot for the knights to do. The gameplay looks similar to previous Batman games, hinting at good hand-to-hand as well as special action combat. For all you Avatar fanatics, here's something to look out for in anticipation of the upcoming movie sequel, even though we have no clue when that's out. Ubisoft is taking us to Avatar's Pandora with a next-generation exclusive open-world game, and from the looks of it, the game looks brilliant. This brand new Avatar game is officially called Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora and was revealed at E3 2021. Partnering with Massive Entertainment, the game will be a standalone story where you play as a Na'vi and journey across the western frontier, a seemingly new part of Pandora not seen anywhere else. This is a first-person action-adventure title that will have open-world elements, which means lots of places to go, lots of people to meet, and of course, lots of things to do. Avatar is out sometime at the end of 2022. If you played any of the previous Stalker games, you know this one's going to be big. Stalker 2 is a game that's been on people's minds for over a decade now, and when Stalker 2 was teased, no one could handle the excitement. In this one, players will be exploring the vast Chernobyl exclusion zone, referred to as just the Zone. This area is a much tougher place to survive than in previous games. The place is crawling with violent mutants, deadly anomalies and surviving factions, and to top it off, a mysterious, incredible power at the center of the zone that may be a more serious threat. The Stalker series has been on everyone's lists of FPS classics, and we're hoping Heart of Chernobyl is added to that list. The game doesn't have a release date, but we know it's going to be out sometime at the end of 2022.
You cannot hide from fate. But you can make your own.
This one's for every Borderlands fan out there, and I'd like to say I'm a huge fan myself actually. Tinytina, in my opinion, is a revolutionary character in video games, and when Tinitina's Wonderland was teased, excitement reached the roof. The game will be an inspired Borderlands spin-off focusing on Tinytina and of course heavily involving Tinitina's love for bunkers and badasses. Dungeons and Dragons. The game will be a story-driven co-op campaign for up to 4 players, but unlike other Borderlands titles, it will have a fantasy setting full of monsters, treasures, and even a Dragon Lord. Tinytina makes the rules in the world though similar to what we saw in the Dragon's Keep DLC for Borderlands 2, but rest assured this one's going to be unique and interesting. Plus, I love how they added Baby Metal's Gimme Chocolate in the gameplay reveal. I mean, this just proves how crazy the game's really going to be.
We've come to the beginning of humanity's final journey.
Prepare for departure. Graviton loop array full check.
It's taken Bethesda Softworks 25 years for a new IP, but at least they're coming out with one. I mean, I'd love to see a Fallout 10 or an Elder Scrolls 15, but Bethesda's never really ventured into the space sci-fi genre yet, which makes this even more interesting. We know very little about the game so far other than a teaser, but we do know it's on the way, and hopefully we'll be able to see it sometime at the end of next year. From what we know, it's an open-world RPG, and Bethesda's been working on it for a little too long, so that's literally about it. But at least the studio confirmed its existence. Otherwise, we'd just be hearing industry rumors from a games tabloid. Given that this game is Bethesda's, Starfield is one of the most anticipated titles of next year, and fans of the space RPG genre can't wait, and nor can I. Bethesda revealed a tentative Starfield release date being November 2022, and even though there have been tons of excellent spacefaring games like No Man's Skies, Elite Dangerous, or even the polarizing Star Citizen, Starfield promises to be unique in a Bethesda kind of way. The game seems like it will, though it has a lot of flavor from the previous open-world RPG titles Bethesda's responsible for, and we're going to take that as a good thing. We still have no idea what it's going to be all about, but Starfield promises a lot of exploration and adventure true to their RPG prowess, which is probably why it's so eagerly anticipated.
Are you a calm and reasonable person?
It's confirmed. The God of War sequel is called Ragnarok, and it's coming sometime next year. From the success of 2018's God of War, we know that this one is going to be huge. Ragnarok picks up from where the last game ends as Thor arrives at Kratos' doorstep, Mjolnir at the ready. This cliffhanger ending is the perfect setup to indicate that Kratos is on his way to tackle some bigger Norse gods, and that we might even go to Asgard to confront Odin himself, who's probably the biggest name in Norse mythology. From the looks of it, Atreus will have more of a significant role in this one, and like anyone else, fans are eager to see what happens. A fantastic team of writers and developers are working on this one, and we can only prepare ourselves for one of the biggest titles to be released next year. I can't wait for this one. Horizon Zero Dawn was a massive success and should have been crowned best game of 2017, but when you've got rivals like Zelda's Breath of the Wild, then there's not going to be much of a chance, is there? A fantastic story with incredible visuals and unique gameplay features, the successor Forbidden West has some really big shoes to fill, but Guerrilla Games looks geared up for something phenomenal. Aloy's back for this game, being the standout protagonist, and her post-apocalyptic adventures will continue in Horizon Forbidden West. Her search to uncover more truth and learn about the state of the world she resides in seems to be at the helm of the story, while she battles even more dangerous robotic creatures and nature itself. This one you definitely don't want to miss. Forbidden West is set to come out sometime in February 2022. From what I know, Breath of the Wild has a massive majority of positive opinions. The game created a world so unique, people will remember it for decades. But like everywhere else, there are a few people who think otherwise. People who haven't really enjoyed the game, even though the numbers aren't too great. Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be one of the biggest games of 2022. Its predecessor has been featured on countless best game of the decade lists, and there's no question about it. The Witcher 3 might have come close, but Breath of the Wild had created a league of its own. A league with just one player. The time now comes for Breath of the Wild 2, and you can't really say it's going to be as good as the first one, but then you can't say it's going to be bad either. The impressions provided by the first game have been so ridiculously good that we can't expect anything less, In fact, we won't expect anything less. We want more. Much more. Nintendo games are typically so steeped in tradition that even if you hate Breath of the Wild, being a gamer, you're still excited to see how such a legendary studio innovates and experiments. It'll be really difficult for them to replicate the magic of the first game, but you never know about this one. It could even be bigger and better. Breath of the Wild 2 is out sometime later in 2022. While looking back at Harry Potter games, there have been just a couple that have made positive impressions. Hogwarts Legacy looks to change that. Although it isn't directly related to the books, this spin-off of sorts is quite connected to the lore. Players will assume the role of students attending Hogwarts during the 1800s, several hundred years before Harry and company were born, but rest assured we'll get plenty of wizardry mischief. It's an open-world RPG, so there's a lot to explore as well. Legacy looks to release sometime in 2022. Which games are you anticipating the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this list, do consider subscribing to Gaming Region and hitting that like button. You've got no idea how much that would help us. As always, see you in the next one.